Oh my gosh, this is fun. But I don't like hanging around that much with CEOs and what our businesses doing in companies. I like to hang around with interesting people out of interesting stories. The fact that you could put little beep, 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 beep into a phone and make calls and anywhere in the world for free, that was just, who could believe it, you know? Who could believe it?
The phone company probably couldn't.
There was probably only about a year that was safe, you know, that year in college, and then I didn't do it after that, but, you know, it was, wow, I had some incredible experiences typing in numbers and a phone number and listening to the FBI in San Francisco on a call about something, you know, that should not be overheard at all. Did that kind of stuff, yeah.
I think you started this section on what you're most proud of, but yeah, that's good.
Phone freaking had these enormous heroes that are kind of like, it could be music stars, it could be stars from a movie, fictional heroes. Captain Crunch was a real guy. He got his name from a little whistle in Captain Crunch cereal that blew the exact note. It's the second harmonic of the high E string on a guitar that cuts off a long-distance phone call, seizes the phone line, and now the phone company is listening to your tones to tell it where to dial. So he got his name Captain Crunch. I love following him around in his escapades. Steve Jobs was afraid that, oh my God, you know what he's doing? He's going to get caught, he's going to get us arrested, didn't want to hang around him. But I'd like to meet him every few months. What's the latest thing you've done that's so interesting and exciting? But I'll tell you, the night we met him, the FBI hadn't caught him yet. He was like one of the well-known phone freaks in nationally published stories that were going around. And somehow I stumbled onto where he was from a high school friend, who he was, and he came to the dorms in Berkeley. I'd been spreading this lore about phone freaks that were smarter than the phone company engineers taking over the networks of the world. And then Captain Crunch was the hero, and he was going to come visit the dorm. I thought he was a suave guy because he talked about tapping the girlfriend's line and finding her call another guy. And so I thought, a suave, you know, ladies man to come to the door, and the door knocks, and I open it up in the dorm, and here's this guy. He hasn't like shaved or showered in 2 weeks. He's missing 3 teeth. I am he, Captain Crunch. So he taught us a lot of interesting phone codes that night up in Kip's Pizza Parlor in Berkeley till midnight. And Steve and I had to drive back home, and Steve's car broke down. You know, we had to drive back an hour to Steve's house where my car was parked, so I could drive back to school on Monday. So Steve's car breaks down, we're by a gas company, we go to the payphone. Should we try the blue box on the payphone? Captain Crunch taught us how to do it. And we tried it, and Steve Jobs hung up real quick, and he said, the operator came on the line. I said, we have to tell her it's a data call, the lights will flash. And he does it again, the lights will flash, and she comes to the line, he hangs up, he's all scared, and then the cop car pulls up. And the cop, you know, walked right past us. I had long hair in those days and shone the light in the bushes like he's looking for something we might have thrown there, you know. And while his back was turned, Steve managed to pass me the blue box because I had a coat on. I got it in my pocket. Cop pats us down. What's this? It's a little box that looks like a touch-tone phone with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you know, the buttons to dial calls. And I said, and every time you push one, it made a weird sound. I said, it's an electronic music synthesizer, because the new synthesizer had just come out. It was in all the music publicity. And the second cop gets the box, and I said, it's an electronic music synthesizer, and he'd say, what's the orange button for? That's the one that seizes the phone line. Steve Jobs would say, that's for calibration. You know, we knew what trouble we were in, though, and the cops held the blue box. They got in their car, we got in the back seat. They're going to drive us out to our broken down car, and the cop reaches around, hands me back the blue box from the passenger seat, hands it to me, and he says, guy named Mood beat you to it. True story. You can't make up a story. Of course, I got home so late, I'm driving back to Berkeley, and at 2 in the morning, I fell asleep on the freeway and totaled my car. So I walked all the way to the dorm room, and, you know, have to go in with a joke. Get there at 6 or 7 in the morning. I walked in on my roommate, and I said, good thing I didn't pay the $25 parking fee this quarter.
Captain Crunch still around? What are the visiting hours where we see him in person? When do we?
Captain Crunch actually turned very good. He would not touch anything close to illegal, you know, anything in any way in computer form. He wound up programming a lot of good stuff. Got some good jobs, but he'd be on and off of being homeless and doing okay. He was in LA working for a company for a while. I was in Las Vegas now, but now he's having some heart problems, big medical problems. So I still feel for him, though. I like him. You know, any friend is a friend. Friendship's worth a lot.
What's, yeah, exactly right, all of us are here, right?
Well, think of it, it's like when Apple went public and the company and Steve Jobs wouldn't give a lot of those early people any stock at all. And I'm thinking, why do three of us at the top get this huge amounts of stock and wealth, and those people that were with us were sitting down talking about ideas and everything, they were like there at the start. What does the word founder mean? So I gave them 20 million of my own stock to 5 of them that were in the garage. They didn't show that in the movie. I've always had very liberal philosophies, and even as of income distribution is high priority for the United States. Go to Canada. Go to Canada, you got it.
So, and some of your philosophies of life are so interesting about, what's important and giving back. Talk a little bit about your flight, and you talk a little bit about the happiness part of all this, but how has that evolved? You've lived such a varied life, you've done so many different things, you've almost been able to live a dream life.
Well, I've had 10 lives, I think, at least 10 lives, in different categories, us festivals and education, stuff like that. And I think, you know what, hey, if I die now, I did fine. So I don't worry about death. That's one thing. Everybody says, gotta live long, gotta maximize life. Hey, quality versus quantity. But the quality is not how much you achieved and got done in the work. It's quality is how much fun you had and how much laughter. So my first formula for happiness in my life, back when I was 20, was happiness equals smiles minus frowns, H equals S minus F. You maximize your smiles by being a lot of humor, a lot of fun, make jokes, and you minimize the frowns by not caring so much if things go a certain way. You're not going to be upset. You're not going to be upset if your brand new car gets dented. And I'm that way. I just, rule it out. You're not going to be upset if the wrong person gets elected. So I just take life. It's kind of like a meditation. Your head is at a very cool spot all the time, and you're not upset at things. That's a good way to be. I do get upset at certain things. When computer stuff doesn't work, because the things humans put in that doesn't work the right way or misleads a human, I hate that.
That's a frown.
You can't be 100%.
That's of course right.
Every little computer fallow.
Well,
they should. The thing is, everything has a computer in it nowadays, and everything with a computer will break and stop working. And that you turn the power off, you turn it on. It's just the standard thing. They'll all stop working. They should kill the people that brought us these computers.
That's the love saying, it's working. I have a personal question, because one of my heroes, and I never got to meet him, was, I think, the godfather of the modern concert experience. The guy who made this whole idea of a big stage and brought rock and roll where it was, Bill Graham. And you got to know him, you got to work with him. Any insight as to what Bill was like? I just personally love to hear.
They asked me, did you have advantages in technology growing up in Silicon Valley? Well, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area during those counterculture days, during the hippie days and all that. I would go to concerts. First concert I went to, really, the first real concert was Junior Walker playing that saxophone, and I just died. Music could get right into your soul. It changed my life forever. And then after him was Jefferson Airplane, and then Grateful Dead. I mean, what an experience. And Bill Graham would get up, concert after concert, he'd get up on stage, and I'd stay up all night long waiting for concert ticket purchase opportunities back in those days, not iPhones. He'd get on stage and tell us all to get out to the anti-war march out in Golden Gate Park the next day and stuff like that. So I admired him when I was young. And then got to work with him older on him, and stages for me and my festivals, my concerts. And then we put on, he knew that there was, at my US Festival, I made the first video links ever to the Soviet Union. We used equipment that NBC had taken over to broadcast the Olympics. The United States pulled out of the Olympics in Moscow, but the equipment was there. And so these peace-oriented tech guys got the equipment, and we established a satellite link at our US Festival. We played music, like Eddie Money, I think, was the first one. We sent to the Soviet Union and then sent some back to us. For the first time ever, a big projection screen was used at a concert in the United States. It was my US Festival. It was the Mitsubishi Diamond business. But Bill Graham didn't think it was real. He didn't go up to announce it at the microphone on the stage. So I ran across the stage, and he's looking at a couple of monitors and says, "Steve, this is coming from a Southern California studio. The Soviets would never let me do this." And so I had to go up to the microphone and announce it. And back then, it was Cold War. It wasn't even perestroika. And he said, "Oh my gosh, we got a connection to the Soviet Union. That's like Al-Qaeda." That was like that. And so it got booed a bit, but we did it. It was important. It was an important step. Later on, years later, Bill called me and said, "You got a rare opportunity to put on the first concert in the Soviet Union with a bunch of American groups and a bunch of Soviet groups together." And a couple of American groups had gotten over there. Billy Joel and somebody else, I think, had gotten into the Soviet Union. But now we were going to do a joint concert in a stadium. And I said, "Well, do you have it covered, and funded? How much is it going to cost?" He said, $500,000. I said, "Okay." And we did. But I would say the person-to-person as diplomacy is the method to peace. I put an awful lot of work into U.S. and Soviet peace in those days.
A little more, and I was going to see if I could go down the road of a couple of quotes from your book, but also, again, philosophy. You said you were really moved by a line in by a movie, a Johnny Cash movie called Walk the Line, and he was in the studio, and the producer, over the talkback said to Johnny Cash, "Play this song the way you would if it could save the world." He said you were really moved by that it could happen.
You have to have that feeling inside of you. Something to do is that important, and then let it come out the way it comes out and wants to come out naturally. Yeah. Don't work in a structured way. Here is exactly the path I'll follow. It's got to be in the artist.
That's the best advice for young people I could ever think.
But I'm emotionally taken when I hear statements like that.
Yeah. The predictions business is tough, obviously, right? Things are changing so quickly. To make predictions, it's most likely we won't get them right. There's a point in 78, 79, and you and Steve were trying to look around the corner of what was next, but you really couldn't. I mean, you saw a few things, but there was a lot of things that weren't clear. How did you approach the idea of the predictions, or what would you build, or were you just looking at what was right in front of you at the time?
Well, around that time frame might have been, it was a little bit later, we discovered the approach to the Macintosh. You could have a computer that a screen was in 2 dimensions. You could look at something and point to it, rather than have to manipulate way over to it and memorize things. What a beautiful, simple world that would be. And we saw that one and said, "We've got to bring this to the masses." And unfortunately, we jumped in and did it very poorly. We jumped in too quickly when it wasn't quite affordable to build a good computer yet. But we really sacrificed a lot of our company, because the world market grew 10 times, and Microsoft got all the growth, and we just fighting to somehow someday make the Macintosh go.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea that you saw ARPANET, which was the internet.
Oh, ARPANET. Yes, the United States military set up a project to connect 5 universities at first. And by the time I discovered it, I think it was 6 universities. I could go on to, if you had a terminal at home that cost more than a car, or if you were smart enough to design your own working with your own TV set, for example, you could call a number over by Stanford. One of the legs of the ARPANET had Stanford Research Institute, SRI. It had MIT, UC LA, UC San Diego, Santa Barbara, and Utah, and some other school. You could see a list of schools and type in 3 and go to an MIT computer and play chess games and read files. My God, they set up this network to explore. What if computers far away could be connected? That was the start of the internet. It was the inspiration eventually for the internet, long in advance. This is before Apple.
You ever envisioned that the computers that we have today would be connected this way from that? Could you ever have predicted that?
I wasn't a predictor so much saying, where's the world going? I don't like to be a long-term science fiction guy because I'm an engineer, feet on the ground. I just said, I want this. Whatever this, oh my God, I want this superpower to reach computers across the country. Yeah. I wanted it. That's why I built it. Same thing as the computer. I wanted my own machine to solve my engineering problems at work without having to use their computer. And I wanted to write games. I wanted to play games. I mean, I developed games and hardware for Atari, so I was already there.
I think they say that's an important part, that if you wait to get it perfect, it will never ship. It will never be done. So it's better to just get it done and finish it, knowing you'll improve it next
But you know what? When you don't have a lot of people around you, it's easy to think out your mind and work on improvement, getting very close to that 100% perfection. You'll never equal it exactly. It's funny, about 38 years after the Apple II, I woke up about 6 months ago. Oh my gosh, I figured out a way I could have saved one more chick. And then I thought even further. Then I thought about 5 minutes later, my head was in that half asleep, half awake state. 5 minutes later, I thought, oh my gosh, I had 2 shades of gray, 16 colors, but 2 of them were the identical gray. You know, kind of like a 0 grade and 1 grade. Oh my gosh, I could have made one of them lighter and one of them darker with just two little dinky parts. The two little, little 1 cent parts. I didn't think of it then. So, yeah. Everybody talks about the future of computers too, right now. How do you foresee the future? And I say, kind of, you can look at the past. One of the things is all personal computers have been getting closer and closer to we humans, becoming more like a friend. Pull out your phone, ask a question, it talks back, just like a friend would. We're working in the human. They got more and more human. We live our way. We put effort into the products, software, development. We put huge amounts of effort in so that it works in the human ways, rather than forcing the human to manipulate and memorize all these computerish things and feel like I'm the slave, I'm not the master. And that's one, so that trend will have continue. I mean, these products get smaller, they'll get closer to us. It suggests wearables like watches or headphones, although I'm not still on the fence on that, whether that's going to be successful. It suggests also these computers are getting more human. Like I described we could never equal the human mind. A long time ago, Apple came out with a tablet called the Newton Message Pad. So a lot of you here haven't heard of it, but it was a thing you could write with a stylus, in handwriting even. And your own muscles, your own human muscles, it would know what you wrote. And it was beautiful. I loved taking all my notes on it. But the first day I was in the San Francisco airport with my kids flying to Disney World, and I got a phone call. So the very first thing I did, there's an open notepad at the front of it. I hand wrote a reminder to me, a reminder to Steve, saying, Sarah, dentist, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Just a reminder note. And I looked at it, oh, there's a button called assist. I wonder what it does. I clicked assist. It noted what I had just typed. It opened the calendar. It put in Tuesday at 2 p.m. It put the word dentist. And it grabbed Sarah out of my contact list. And that changed my life forever. From then on, I only wanted machines that understood the human speech, the human ideas, the human thinking that a machine would understand us. Now we've got things like Siri, we're talking to it, and we've replaced part of the brain where? If you had a big question in the past, you would ask somebody smart, right? Well, now who do you ask? It starts with G-O, and it's not God. And so we're getting better answers. It's like the computers have replaced a part of the brain, but we don't know how the brain is made. We don't know how to get to that conscious level. So that probably, I think that it's a scary thought. Well, and the smartest people in the world, Stephen Hawking and Turing if he were alive, but let's see, Elon Musk, who has the Tesla car and SpaceX. These people are coming out, the founders of Google, saying that the biggest danger ahead is artificial intelligence because they can see how close we're getting. Yeah, and it's scary. If a machine can do all my thinking better, why would I? And if not like that, if it becomes my best friend and knows my heart and soul better than any other human, I don't need a human.
Well, that's the flip side. It could either emulate and be a real tool. Yeah. And help, as you say, everyone needs that mentor relationship.
That's what we're building it to help us, and we're going to do family, and that's why I buy my dog toys. But the trouble is that it's funny, we can't turn a bit of it off. We can't shut down a single factory that manufactures things because we weren't going to give up our lifestyle. And so in my mind, the machines won the battle 200 years ago. Because everything we build with them, every step we take with them, we can never go back to something before. And you can't turn off the internet. How would you get anything done in your life? You can't turn off your smartphones now that you have them. We'll never sacrifice our lifestyle, so machines are more important in some cases, in a lot of ways.
Well, now we brought everyone down to here. I want to finish this on something really funny, because I think this is when we thought how excited we were to see you and have you come to the NAMM show. Is this you have such a spirit of inquisitiveness, of humor, that life is always going to be something to enjoy. Pranks. Have we kind of wrung the humor out a lot of our life now? You were a great prankster. What were some of your more favorite?
We don't even allow a lot of humor because like we used to have Easter eggs in programs, where if you type the right key sequences, you see pictures of the developers, and they do have an Easter egg now on the Tesla automobile. I heard. Wow, and I'm glad. But at Apple, if you do that now, you are fired. It's kind of like you go to schools. If you play a prank, you're in a lot of trouble.
Well, to be fair, you had a joke line. One of the first 809 dial-up jokes.
first dial-a-joke in the San Francisco area. Why? As a young engineer, my biggest expense was my apartment and an answering machine in those days from the monopoly phone company, AT&T. You didn't have any choices in the world. One answering machine, it was half again my apartment rental, but I believed in humor so much. I ran the first dial-a-joke, and I had the most called single line number in the United States with no extensions. 2,000 jokes a day it would tell the little students calling in the Bay Area. I'd go, hello, thank you for dialing dial-a-joke. But I was kind of anonymous, like chat rooms, when for a shy person that can't talk to real humans, I could talk to people this way, and I could take live calls and do it live too, and met my first wife that way. I told her, I bet I can hang up faster than you, and I did.
But I think the lesson there is that sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. Sometimes we take the world too seriously. Yes, all this is happening, but we got to have some.
But there are different personalities. You know what? Your personality kind of settles in by the time you're about 20, and it doesn't change much in your life. So if you haven't thought it out by the time you're 20, I love my young life. I want to stay young thinking forever. I want to enjoy music. I want to laugh at jokes. And, it's probably not going to come to you. You can't.
I think the music industry is made up of arrested development 20-year-olds, which is perfect. And that's why I love the music business. We are all like that. That passion comes through.
Yeah, that's why I like it so much. And for many years, I didn't go to the big, huge concerts, the big, hugely produced groups and all the fringes around them. A lot of money goes into it. No, I like to go to the little 30-person music bars up to, a couple hundred people, up to maybe 500, the medium-sized places at the largest. And I like meeting musicians. Wow. Because they don't have humor, they don't have jokes, and I talk to them, I like what they do. So, and also, I go to a concert, sometimes you pay $15 and you hear 4 great little acts, and if you have one glass of wine, I'm not a wine drinker, but I'll drink one glass of wine, sometimes you just get it, you're floating thinking, I am so lucky for everything I did in my life that got me here tonight, and it's just some little group that you'll never even remember the name of, but you just know you have that experience. It's good. I also like seeing a couple. Maybe it's a guy and a girl, maybe it's 2 guys, but they're hugging, maybe they're kissing. But I love them swaying with me. Maybe they're singing the songs and the music. This is such an important thing in their lives. And the music is like a magic dust in my mind. I was in it's a magic dust bringing love to people. And I grew up with it. Flowers not done, that kind of thing.
I really, Steve, I can't really think of anything better to end it on. Because we have devoted our lives to music. All of us here have spent our every waking and sleeping moment towards bringing more music education, music to this world, because we believe exactly as you just said.
And we didn't get into music has been such a huge meaning in my life. And I will tell you something. I'm the one who showed Steve Jobs all the Dylan liner notes, and when I met him, he was 16 years old.
You were the benevolent big brother he didn't have.
And we talked about Dylan had important ideas that would move the world and be important in life. And the Beatles only had soft music; they were considered lesser. So I didn't like it in the movie when they had Steve Jobs, Beatles, and Steve Jobs, Dylan, and me, Beatles. You could have picked anyone else. Actually, I played my guitar for 20 years, and I only played Dylan songs. I'm going to tell you that. Dedication.
How often do you play today? How often do you grab
I don't play now because I have a tendon problem where I got trigger finger, and it's just now healed enough that I might be able. I didn't have the operation or anything. I could probably play now, but when I tried, about a year ago, I couldn't even do it.
Remind me, I think there's an exhibitor here who can help. There's a device that helps with that. I saw something.
Good, that's technology.
Let's, on that note, let's wrap up. We're going to get over to the trade show floor, and could we have a warm thank you for Steve Wozniak.
So many of you